Welcome to this explainer. Look, whether you're a frontline SOC analyst currently battling alert fatigue, an incident responder in the trenches, or a CISO trying to figure out how to optimize your security budget, you already know one hard truth. Data alone is never enough to stop an adversary. Today, we're diving deep into a truly foundational element of any modern defense team. We're unpacking Strategy 8, leverage tools to support analyst workflow. We're going to explore exactly how world-class security operations centers treat their tech stack not just as massive data dumps, but as absolute force multipliers. Here's our quick roadmap for today's session. We'll start with the analyst tool dilemma, move into harmonizing workflows, tackle cloud orchestration, cover some common implementation pitfalls, look at world-class SOC maturity, and then wrap up with your key takeaways and next steps. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the analyst tool dilemma. I want you to imagine the sheer physical and mental drain of manually jumping between completely disconnected consoles all day, just to piece together the story of a single security alert. We call this swivel chair fatigue, and it is brutally common. You've got endpoint detection on one screen, network logs over on another, your threat intel feeds somewhere else entirely, and you're literally just copying and pasting IP addresses between them. Every new vendor out there promises a magical single pane of glass, right? But the reality for most analysts is that you're usually just adding yet another pane of glass to an already towering pile. So what happens when the very things meant to help us end up working against us? Well, when tools are integrated, they transform from an asset into a massive, heavy burden. All that friction, it leads directly to missed alerts, severely delayed response times, and ultimately severe analyst burnout. Asking a security professional to make critical, high-stakes incident response calls while they are actively fighting with their own toolkit is just a recipe for disaster. That brings us to Section 2, harmonizing the analyst workflow. The ultimate goal here, the holy grail for a SOC, is a harmonized architecture where analysts can instantly pivot. They need to move seamlessly from raw telemetry straight into threat intelligence and then right into case management. Think about how an analyst starts their day. They might check fresh alerts, pivot to look up some new threat intel, and then update their ongoing cases. That word pivot is absolutely key. A tightly integrated architecture allows an analyst to do more actual reasoning and threat hunting in 30 minutes than a disjointed SOC team could pull off an entire week. At the absolute heart of this workflow is usually the SIEM. For most organizations, the SIEM is the foundational engine responsible for turning mountains of raw data into actual actionable knowledge. And let's be honest, this is a massive investment. We're often talking millions of dollars and years of engineering work. So you should absolutely demand a massive return on that investment. Your SIEM cannot just be a dumb, expensive aggregator of logs. Its true value is proven across what we call the event lifecycle. Think of it like a massive funnel. We have to filter billions, literally billions, of raw, noisy events down to maybe a few million correlated events. From there, we narrow it down to hundreds of advanced alerts, and finally distill it all into just a handful of critical incidents that actually require human attention. It's a process that moves from validation, asking, hey, did this actually happen, to disposition, asking, okay, what does this mean, and finally to response, asking what exactly should I do about it. Now, tracking those few critical incidents at the bottom of the funnel requires robust case management. Every SOC needs a way to track this stuff. But there is a fascinating and serious architectural choice you have to make. Sure, using your company's existing IT help desk system is way cheaper and faster to stand up, but doing that carries a massive risk, exposing highly sensitive internal threat data to general IT admins. Think about it. If a general constituency system is compromised by an attacker, that adversary might actually be able to sit there and read the SOC's own investigation tickets in real time. That is exactly why mature SOCs invest in custom, completely isolated case management systems. Let's shift gears to Section 3, orchestrating modern cloud environments. We have to fundamentally shift our traditional mindset here. In the old days, we managed physical on-premises servers. We controlled everything right down to the bare metal. But today, we're navigating complex cloud dependencies, massive SaaS platforms, and a highly remote workforce where the identity planes and virtual networks are completely managed by third parties. Your SOC's monitoring strategy has to adapt to integrate with this completely redefined perimeter. When you transition your tools and monitoring to the cloud, you've got to carefully evaluate some serious architectural and legal hurdles. For instance, where your data is geographically stored can trigger major legal implications because of data sovereignty laws, like GDPR. You also have to ruthlessly monitor the identity plane, like your Active Directory forest. Why? Because if an advanced persistent threat, an APT, gains privileged domain rights, they can just turn around and compromise the very monitoring tools your SOC relies on to catch them. Moving into Section 4, Common Tool Implementation Pitfalls. There is a stark warning from the source material that every single SOC manager needs to hear, and it hits the nail right on the head. Having old and broken tools is a quick way to lose talent. Top-tier analysts expect performant tools, period. If they run a basic search query and it takes 4 hours instead of 4 seconds, they're gonna leave. Failing to provide modern, functional tech directly kills your team's retention. You need to constantly watch out for key warning indicators. Keeping hundreds of data feeds healthy and parsers working is a relentless battle. But honestly, the most dangerous pitfall is the shiny temptation of SOAR, security automation, orchestration, and response. Look, automating high-risk workflows, like dynamically disabling user accounts across an entire enterprise before your manual handling processes are actually mature, that is incredibly reckless. If you automate a broken process, congratulations, you've just built a machine that creates operational disasters at light speed. Let's look at Section 5, World-Class SOC Maturity. Every world-class SOC has to climb this ladder. You can't skip steps. They evolve from beginner stages, basic ad hoc tool usage and simple log collection, up to intermediate stages, featuring heavily tuned, customized SIEMs. Finally, they reach the elite tier. This is where they leverage SOAR for low-risk, highly repetitive tasks, utilize advanced machine learning engines, and run distributed, federated queries across massive datasets without ever having to physically move the data. But wait, what if you aren't a massively funded elite enterprise SOC? Beginner or smaller SOCs that don't have the budget for a multi-million-dollar SIEM can actually still achieve fantastic visibility. You can get really creative by pairing an EDR, endpoint detection and response, with a basic lightweight log management tool. The EDR acts as your hyper-focused primary tool for initial detection, while the lighter log solution handles your long-term compliance and storage. It's a brilliant, highly effective alternative. Conversely, an elite SOC is going to leverage a highly mature, complex SIEM architecture. They beautifully balance real-time alerting natively in memory, which answers the question, are we being hacked right now, with deep historical query capabilities running on a schedule to answer, did we get hacked 3 months ago? They also dynamically integrate machine learning and threat intelligence to automatically enrich alerts before a human analyst ever even lays eyes on them. All right, let's wrap this up in Section 6, takeaways and next steps. The overarching lesson for today is that your technology absolutely must serve the analyst's workflow, acting as a seamlessly integrated force multiplier. You must relentlessly hunt down and eliminate that swivel chair analysis. Remember to only introduce SOAR automation when your manual processes are fully documented, tested, and genuinely low risk. And finally, recognize that the modern perimeter isn't a firewall anymore, it's identity. Architect your tools to rigorously monitor cloud identity planes and always assume breach scenarios where your own monitoring infrastructure is the target. To continue maturing your capabilities, I highly recommend diving deeper into the source material. Specifically, Appendix B offers some absolutely fantastic guidance on how to get started with building a SOC from scratch if you're early in your journey. And you'll also want to gear up for Strategy 9, which focuses on communicating clearly, collaborating often, and sharing generously. Because as we've learned, a SOC can never function as an isolated island. I'm going to leave you with this final thought to evaluate with your own teams when you step back onto the ops floor today. Are you serving your tools by constantly fixing broken parsers and fighting your way through unintegrated, noisy alerts? Or are your tools truly serving you, automating the mundane and freeing your top talent to actually go hunt the adversary? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and stay vigilant out there.